Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Julie and I have the daunting task of presenting to you while you're eating, but I promise it will be a delightful and invigorating presentation. So hopefully we will feed your stomachs and your minds at the same time. So how many of you have heard about 60x30TX? I'm very pleased to see those number of hands. How many of you have heard our stump speech? Yes. Okay. So hopefully you will be much more informed by the end of this presentation than you are now. So with the 60x30TX strategic plan, Texas is focused on student success over the next 15 years. This plan will establish a globally competitive workforce in the state by 2030. The plan was developed over 18 months by a committee that included business and education leaders from across the state. The Texas Higher Education Strategic Planning Committee received expert testimony from individuals from across the state, the U.S., and from around the world. And we sought input from over 5,000 stakeholders throughout the planning process. The input and feedback that we got back from you helped to refine the 60x30TX plan, which was adopted by our full board on July 23rd, 2015. 60x30TX builds on the success of closing the gaps. So all the work that was done during that plan is going to be leveraged to work on the 60x30TX plan. The new plan, 60x30TX, is firmly founded on the critical need that Texas produces an educated workforce that is able to adapt to change and an educated workforce that can compete at the highest levels, nationally and internationally. The world's most competitive workforces have younger populations with more education compared to the U.S. and compared to Texas. 60x30TX emphasizes all forms of post-high school education, from undergraduate certificates to associate's and bachelor's degrees, to graduate and professional education. The plan also highlights the overarching goal that 60% of 25 to 34-year-olds will have a post-secondary credential by 2030. Success of achieving the goals of this plan is going to rest heavily on collaboration from higher education, K-12, and from the workforce. 60x30TX provides latitude for 2- and 4-year institutions and encourages local creativity in pursuing the plan's goals so that institutions can continue to pursue their own unique missions. As illustrated by these two pie charts, Texas has a diverse workforce. The question is, by 2030, will Texas have a diverse and educated workforce? The 60x30TX plan is designed to answer that question with a bold and resounding yes. The Strategic Planning Committee developed 4 student-centered goals. The first deals with educational attainment, which is a fraction of the Texas population actually holding a degree or undergraduate certificate. The second goal deals with the degree and undergraduate certificate completion at Texas colleges and universities. The third goal highlights the need for graduates to know the marketable skills they are acquiring in their programs. The fourth goal recognizes the need to address student loan debt. Supporting students through completion to become more actively engaged citizens and to strengthen the Texas economy means addressing college affordability and making explicit the workplace skills that students obtain in their programs. The first and overarching goal states that by 2030, at least 60% of Texans ages 25 to 34 will have a post-secondary credential or degree. This is a big percentage to shoot for because right now we're only at about 38% of Texans in this age group with any kind of post-secondary credential. The best educated societies in the world have already reached 60% or close to it for this age group. We need to move the level of attainment up dramatically among young Texans. As mentioned, the goal is focused on the fraction of the Texas population that's actually holding a degree or undergraduate certificate. Now, those degrees or certificates could have been earned anywhere in the world. All that matters is that at the time we're counting, they live in Texas, and that could be at a private, a public, or a for-profit institution. Achieving the 60x30 goal is critical for Texas to remain globally competitive and for its peoples and communities to prosper. The new plan calls for ambitious yet realistic interim targets and strategies that will get us to our final goal if we stay on course through 2030. Critical to achievement is the focus on and success in improving the educational level of young Hispanic Texans who will make up a majority of the students in school between now and 2030. The next goal states, by 2030, at least 550,000 students in that year will complete a certificate, associate, bachelor's, or master's from an institution of higher education in Texas. This goal includes public, independent, and for-profit colleges and universities. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics make clear that students don't get much of an economic lift from college attendance unless they complete a degree or undergraduate certificate. We can do better at this than we're doing now. We need to continue the Closing the Gaps record of generating impressive growth in degree and undergraduate certificate production. The plan includes targets for Hispanic Texans to earn 285,000 degrees or undergraduate certificates in 2030. The plan also includes targets for African American, male, and economically disadvantaged students. Another important target is to increase the percentage of students who enroll in higher education directly after high school from the current 54% to 65%. If reached, Texas will award a total of 6.4 million certificates or degrees during the 15 years of this plan. The third goal reads, by 2030, all graduates from Texas public institutions of higher education will have completed programs with identified marketable skills. Marketable skills are those valued by employers that can be applied in a variety of work settings, including interpersonal, cognitive, and applied skills. These skills can be either primary or complementary to a major and are acquired through education, including curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular activities. All programs develop skills of value in the marketplace. The plan requires institutions to formally identify those skills for each of its degree programs so that students are aware of and can communicate these skills to future employers. The goal calls for every institution to articulate identified skills to their students. In a 2012 national survey by the UCLA Higher Education Research Institute, 88% of surveyed students identified getting a better job as the most important reason for attending college. Students who can articulate their marketable skills are better poised to get a better job. The fourth goal is, by 2030, undergraduate student loan debt will not exceed 60% of first-year wages for graduates of Texas public institutions. We have an opportunity to balance student loan debt and improve how higher education is financed, to reduce the financial barriers that students and their families encounter when they're pursuing any level of higher education. Texas could experience greater shortages in critical fields if student loan debt spikes to the point at which a majority of students choose their majors based entirely on potential income. We think the best way to focus on financial issues is to set a statewide goal of maintaining debt as measured against student earning power when they graduate. Success will require collaboration among elected officials and higher education leaders, and will probably require an imaginative reinvention of paths to completion, including methods for teaching and learning. At the state level, a statewide advisory group could determine ways to better advise students and parents about financial aid options and the impact of those options on a student's finances before, during, and after college. The ratio of 60% is a statewide maintenance goal. It is approximately the current level we're at now. There are several facets to the student debt goal. First, the role of the state. Second, the role of institutions. And third, the role of students. This graphic illustrates the necessity of a balanced relationship between these agents. All undergraduates with student loan debt who complete a credential from a Texas public 2-year and 4-year institution are included in the 60% ratio calculation. This is not a goal for individual students. This is not a goal for individual institutions. We know there will be variation by sector and by student. The goal is to keep the ratio at 60% for the state. The statewide student loan debt to first-year wage ratio is about 72% at public four-year institutions and about 36% at two-year institutions. In 2014, half of all undergraduate students completed their degrees and certificates with student loan debt. The fourth goal includes a target to maintain this percentage so that no more than half of our undergraduates complete their credentials with student loan debt. The 60x30TX plan is bold. Initial reactions to the plan have been enthusiastic, as you can see from this quote. This is from the executive director of the Texas Association of Business. Texas strives to be the best, enabling Texans to enjoy a future with increased incomes, opportunities, and resources. In closing, Texas will continue to have a diverse population. The ultimate goal of 60x30TX is to have a diverse and educated workforce by 2030.